So Mark Galloway is a client that had seen a lot of business success, and in that journey, while things went well with business, he ultimately discovered that he was becoming very obese, and that obesity led him to not having as much movement, and that led him to end up exiting the company, and now his sons are running the business. And that's great. It's great that he set things up that way, but the reality is now Mark's in a situation where he doesn't really leave his house. In fact, before we meet 3 times a week to do exercise sessions in his home, I ask him to walk before we get into the exercise, and a lot of times it's walking to the end of the street or walking in a circle or a U in his backyard, and that's the extent of what he can do. And so there are a lot of problems that evolve in neglecting your health, and that's what he's experiencing. The interesting thing about me working with Mark is I take a position of meeting people where they're at, and I literally mean that. We are going to Mark's house, and once a week we do measurements and progress pictures, and once a week we do a SWOT analysis to determine his strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats with both meals and exercise. And that's normally done on a Friday, so I've actually just done that. Today we're doing measurements because we didn't have the time to do it on Friday. But one of the interesting things that I'm learning in this progress journey is that, again, meeting him where he's at, the big wins right now are that he has an added focus on his wellness and on his nutrition. But that said, I can't communicate to him the way I would communicate with someone who's been working on this program, working in a transformation program with us for months. And so we need to celebrate a lot of small victories that add up to some of the measurable wins that I'm talking with somebody about that I've been working with for 4 months. I think it's interesting to think about how I came across Mark. Mark came from a client of mine, and the client called me and said, "Hey, I'm not sure if you're interested in taking on another client. I don't know if you have the bandwidth to meet him at his house and work with him the way you do with a lot of clients. But I think it could be transformative, because the only way I know how to describe Mark is that he's an unpleasant person to be around. He's seemingly depressed and, frankly, kind of mean." And if there's anything that can be done to help support his body, perhaps this is something that will then impact the family. So as a son-in-law, he was reaching out saying, "Hey, the real problem in this is the impact to our family, because his health has suffered and he's slowly taken a spiral in his life." So exciting times for Mark. He's going through a lot of small wins, and today we'll do a workout session that he's progressed up to. So the first week we met with him, it was just assessing some of his strength thresholds, but more so endurance thresholds. So I got an idea of what his strength was, but really it was seeing how long he could go with both reps and with a total workout. So from start to finish, we ended up completing a 30-minute workout, which I think is very impressive for the first week, given that he's over 300 pounds and I think about 5'8", and has been living with chronic pain that has been so painful that often Mark will just sleep for hours because he just doesn't want to go through the pain. He just wants to wake up when it's time for his body to eat, go back to sleep, and that too takes a toll, because how do you develop, it takes a toll on the family, because how do you develop relationships with someone that's never really there? And I've seen that with clients from all ends of the spectrum. This is only one case, and then on the opposite end, which is a range I've personally been on, where you can have too much of a focus of fitness to the extent that you're not as present because of that. And that's one of the reasons when I looked in my background, I'm an all-natural bodybuilder, and there was a point when I was 30 that my wife said, okay, Lance, I am going to support you in this show, and then after that I don't think we can do it. We are in graduate school, we have 2 kids, the time you take for extra cardio, extra posing time, tanning, all of these things that are above and beyond school and family. For me, I know that while I was present in my family, that I was seemingly not present. And I'll tell you, both perspectives are challenging, and they take a tremendous evolution emotionally, mentally, and physically to get to where you can find a good balance. And I don't know that everybody finds a perfect balance, because it's very unique to them. But that's what we're aiming for with Mark. Ultimately, everything we're doing right now will support balance hormonally, mentally, physically, and all of these things should support even more balance to help him as a husband, as a father, as a grandfather, and also as somebody that's in the community that has those community relationships. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to work with him. We've literally been working with bands when we can, but just his body weight bands, and then he has a dumbbell setup that is an adjustable dumbbell setup that we've been working with. And the fun thing is, this week he'll go from about a 25-minute workout and about 4 or 5 exercises to the next gear. The next gear that he's going to shift, we're going to see if we can get a 40-minute workout in total, and look at testing his endurance thresholds just a little bit more, maybe just 1 or 2 more reps with the same weight that he did before. And it's not always about increasing the weight with clients. Often we increase the weight as we need to, but before we do that, we look at even just holding the muscle contraction for 1 to 3 second counts. So if you're doing a chest press before you come back down, you may hold it up to the top for a quick extra second, and then take in the breath as you're bringing down the weight, to be very intentional about how he's building his body and making sure everything is done appropriately, so that he's safe and he keeps his motivation, because everything posture-wise is there, and he's actually feeling the exercises as well. So I'm really excited to check in. Usually Mondays are interesting because they're coming off of a weekend, and that means that, like anybody, even though he's retired, usually he has family come over, and oftentimes that means that there's a little bit more cause for relaxation with with a meal plan.
Good.
Yeah.